Hey guys, so here are some thoughts on the importance of mental toughness in the age of the coronavirus. And for 30 years I've been studying the relationship between attitude and everything, right? And I want to make a couple comments on the relationship, like the incredibly relevant relationship between attitude and two things. One is immunity or health, and the other is our ability to create, right? To create from. Let me give you the mantra for that, to elaborate upon that. Here, this is one of my favorite mantras ever, and I rely upon it constantly, not just during the time of the coronavirus. Every set of circumstances can be leveraged for gain if viewed masterfully. And that's one hell of a big if right there. I'm going to repeat that. Every set of circumstances can be created from if viewed masterfully. Put another way, every set of circumstances, without exception, right, can be leveraged for both individual and collective gain, again, but only if viewed masterfully. And this is a set of circumstances that is really easy to not view masterfully. So this is my duty, I feel, as a mental coach, to remind you of that. Right, this is as important a time perhaps as we've experienced in a very long time, maybe some of us ever, for us to choose to create elevated states. Choose being the operative word, okay, in that sentence. To choose to create elevated states. Here's another mantra for you. Create the state, don't wait. And then you might say, create the state. Yeah, create the emotional state, right? Create, well, which ones? Whatever one's going to have you be amazing. And that's always the case, and it's especially true right now. Right? There is so much research, and I'm in conversation with so many different people from different healing disciplines on the relationship between mind and body. Right? And in fact, I prefer to use the one word, mind body, to have it be one, because the relationship is instantaneous and inextricable, right? And everybody knows that. So this is a really important time for us to not contract the virus and not spread it. Most of us are not really threatened physically by this, as we know that it's for those of us that are elderly, then we're more concerned, or elderly with pre-existing conditions, right? That's the population that is really at the highest risk here. But the rest of us are likely worrying about other symptoms or repercussions of this experience, of this phenomenon of the virus, and those are like primarily on economic levels or financial levels. So here are 5 points. 1. In this age of momentary, hopefully short-lived social distancing, this is an amazing opportunity for us to get comfortable with our aloneness. I'm noticing that a lot of people are really lonely right now. Like part of the freak out is because of extreme loneliness, especially people that live on their own, like me, right? I live alone, and I have for years and years. And if I wasn't comfortable with aloneness, I don't really want to think a whole lot about how I'd be feeling right now. I'd be going goddamn stir crazy. Here's a phrase for that. Loneliness is the absence of the other. Aloneness is the presence of one's self. If you're feeling lonely, there's a ton of things, of course, that you can do, reaching out and whatnot, and just using the internet. But I want to encourage you to actually, intentionally immerse yourself in some silence and practice enjoying it. Practice loving it, right? Getting comfortable with being quiet, getting comfortable with the stillness. Practice some meditation. Look up I got a video on my YouTube channel called "Getting in the Gap." Look that up. How to quiet the mind. And that's unbelievable, by the way. I wasn't planning on bringing that up, but I'm glad it came up. That form of meditation is incredibly helpful in strengthening immunity. So aloneness, get comfortable with your aloneness. Creativity. as I said, every set of circumstances can be created from if viewed masterfully. So here's a question for you. What is something, given the circumstances, right? What is something that maybe you could create, an idea, a practice, an invention, anything that when this is all over, that you could look back on and say, you know, I'm so happy about the way I handled that period, because I elevated my state and I created something that's actually making me money now and will forever. Like, for example, like something that creates something, especially if you're worried about your job or your next paycheck, right? Is start thinking about what's something that I could create that I might be able to even monetize, that I would not have even thought of if it wasn't for this circumstance, because I wouldn't have needed to. I'd just be still doing my deal, my normal regular routine and job. But now, given the extremely unusual nature of this, if I could slow down enough and think of something, what could I possibly do? How could I possibly use my skill set, my unique set of gifts, in order to create something that I would have never created, that if not for this circumstance, I would never have thought of it, that could bring some value, some financial value to me, that could bring value to other people. So activate the creative genius within. And then the next one, paradoxically, is connectedness, right? Like, you're watching this, right? You're presumably socially distancing, but yet we're connecting, right? And so even though we aren't making physical contact right now, this is a really incredible, an incredible opportunity, right? Because of how disruptive this whole thing is for us to slow down and think about how we can still connect with each other, like on a heart level, on a soul level. I go for these bike rides in the morning, and I'm going further out of my way to make sure that I make eye contact with everyone and wave and say, bring a big enthusiastic hi. And I noticed yesterday in my bike ride that people were beating me to it, which had me choked up a bit. So this is an incredible opportunity for us to practice connectedness, even though we're physically isolating more than usual. The fourth point is service. I love this phrase. Nervous can't exist in service, and a heightened form of nervous is anxiety, which a lot of people are creating a lot of right now. And so therefore, anxiety cannot coexist in a state of service. So let's also be in the inquiry, how can I serve during this? Like, who are some folks, even if I am feeling really panicked for myself, I'm worried about my immediate and near future, let me take a break from that. Right? And one of the ways I can do that is to get into the question and create some answers to, who can I go serve? Right? Again, how can I use my what can I authentically offer? Like, even if it's digitally, right? That could be of service to people. That could help some people that are really struggling right now. That has such a huge ripple effect, and you know that. So let's utilize being of service, being in service as an interruption, a perfectly and profoundly effective tool to interrupt our own catastrophic thinking, which, by the way, is the only place that any anxiety ever occurs. Let me just slow that down for a second, because that could be like one of the biggest takeaways. Whenever you're feeling anxious, it is because of one thing and one thing only, and it's not because of what's going on in the outer world, it's because of what's going on in your inner world. It's the way you're thinking about it. That's a fact. Right? Marcus Aurelius, arguably the greatest Roman emperor in history, said it, and he was definitely, in addition to a general, he and an emperor, he was a freaking mental coach, no question. He said, if you are troubled by a thing, it's not the thing, it's your estimate of it, which you have the right to revoke at any time. Right? So it's whenever you're feeling anxious, it's not because of what's going on, it's because of the way you're interpreting it, and you can manipulate the hell out of that at all times. All right. So how to do that? Just a second more on that, which is catch yourself when you're feeling anxious, right? Then take some ownership of that by saying, okay, it's not the virus and the threat of my not knowing where my next paycheck is coming from and all that stuff. That's all legit and true, right? But that's not what's causing my anxiety. So say that to yourself. It's the way I'm thinking right now is what's causing my anxiety. I am creating my anxiety right now. Now that ownership, that now you're free. Now you're free to trash that. You're free to get rid, to squash, right? To extinguish the anxiety. How? By replacing the thought content. What are you grateful for? Gratitude is an incredible tool right now. And you always have access to gratitude. Start listing off all the things in your life that you're legitimately grateful for. You cannot feel anxiety when you're in a state of gratitude. They cannot coexist in the same moment. Create a thought. There's a guy named Viktor Frankl who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. He survived concentration camps, and so did so many more people that were around him in the concentration camp, because he was spreading hope. He was giving lectures, he was talking to people, he was asking them questions like, tell me something about your future that will keep you excited, just even if you can remember it a few times a day, that'll give you hope. Creating an image, a thought of an inspired future is an unbelievably powerful tool. By virtue of him having that influence on the people, the number of people that were in the barracks, or whatever you call them, in the concentration camp, in their quarters, survived more than in other places because of hope, right? So create images of an inspired future. Catch yourself when you're feeling crappy, when you're feeling scared, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling panicked, and own it by saying, I'm not feeling this anxiety because of what's happening here with the virus and all that. I'm feeling anxious because of the way I'm thinking about it. I'm going to upgrade that right now, okay? And I'm going to choose gratitude, or I'm going to choose to create images of an inspired future, which is a segue into the final point, which is enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is one of my favorite states, and also one of my favorite words, because it's of the Greek word entheos, which means the creator within. Now, it might sound a little bit bizarre, me advising you to choose to create a state of enthusiasm given what's going on. I'm not saying be enthused about the fact that so many people are suffering. That's stupid. Hopefully I'd never be that dumb. What I am, however, saying is that your ability to stay healthy, right, and to inspire people to be healthy and to be great, to be connected, right, to be contributors, to be of service, to be fun, to be together, right, to be supportive, to be collaborative, to be compassionate, if I didn't say that one already, is significantly enhanced by your willingness to choose to think yourself into a state of enthusiasm, right? So say, I am going to leverage this, right? So remember the mantra, every set of circumstances can be leveraged for gain if viewed masterfully. Let's make that an I am statement for you. I am choosing to create from this, because I know that every circumstance can be created from if viewed masterfully, and I'm choosing to view this from a place of extreme mental mastery. All right, guys, more to come on that. In the meantime, stay healthy and create miracles.